And also for the former police chief, passed away, John C. Mello.
Yep. And how about Burt Reynolds?
Good idea.
Burt Reynolds, too.
John C. Mello.
Yeah, John Mellor, who was you never got in trouble.
Okay. At this time, I would like to have a moment of silence for 9/11, and also for the recent passing of John C. Mello, who was a retired police chief here. He retired here in 1981. Okay. Consent agenda. Approval of regular session council meeting minutes, August 27, 2018. Receipt of minutes from following boards and commissions: the Board of Canvassers 4, the Cemetery Commission 1, Harbor and Coastal Water Management 2. Correspondence received and filed, Tiverton Prevention Coalition. Approval of tax assessor abatements. Town Administrator Department monthly reports for August. Town Administrator, Police and Fire overtime reports for August. At this time, would any members of the council like to take anything off the consent agenda?
Madam President,
Council Edwards?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Open public forum, announcements, comments, and questions. Julie Renato, solar ordinance and petition. Yes, please come up to the microphone. I need you to state your name and address, please.
Hello, my name is Julie Monifo, and I'm from Jamestown, Rhode Island, 18 Calvert Place. And Madam President, I am here today to present to you the idea that I am petitioning the Town Council to consider amending their solar ordinance. And reason being that things are changing very quickly with the information that we're learning about solar facilities and the impact that they have on the rural nature of towns like Tiverton.
I received your request, but I wasn't able to put it on this agenda.
Yes.
I am planning on putting it on the following agenda in September.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Public hearings, advertised public hearings, proposed amendment to Town Code of Ordinance, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Finance, Division 2, Purchasing, Section 2106, Competitive Bidding. Peter?
So this ordinance amendment would just amend the small purchase amount for your competitive bidding ordinance to come into line with state law. So state law sets a small purchase amount for $5,000 for purchases and $10,000 for construction purchases. That's adjusted for inflation. What it actually comes to would be slightly over $8,000 for regular purchases and slightly over $17,000 for construction.
At this time, does any of the councilors have any questions or comments? At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing. Anyone from the audience like to speak on this subject? Anyone from the audience? I'll now close the public hearing. Any questions and comments from the council once again?
Madam President,
John?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the amendment to the Town Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Finance, Division 2, Purchasing, Section 2-106, Competitive Bidding.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made in second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Joseph Zabinski, 204 Stafford Road, wedding to be held at 958, I can never say the street name, Punkatees Neck Road on Saturday, September 22nd, from 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. Approval of a sound variance live band to 5 p.m. and approval of a special event license. Is Joseph here?
Yes,
Would you like to come up?
sure.
Hi.
Hi.
Just give us a little brief summary of what the wedding, when it starts, when it ends. and-
Oh, sure, okay. So,
Approximately how many people?
yeah. So we're expecting to have around 175 people to include the staff and guests. We're going to, the wedding ceremony is going to take place at 11 a.m., but that's going to be off-site. That's going to happen at Holy Trinity Church on Main Road. Then following that, we'll be headed to 958 Punkatees Neck Road, hopefully for the reception. We're going to have there's going to be an outdoor tent. We've already covered the building permit for that. We're going to have it catered. The caterer has liability insurance, everything that she needs there. What we're looking for the sound variance for the live band that we'd like to hire to entertain our guests.
Any questions from the council?
Madam President.
I have to open the.
Oh, sorry. Jumping the gun, I apologize.
At this time, I'd like to open the public hearing. Anyone in the audience like to speak on this subject? Anyone in the audience? I'll close the public hearing. We'll do 2A first, approval of sound variance live band to 5 p.m.
Madam President, motion to approve the sound variance for the live band to 5 p.m. for Joseph Zabinski, 204 Stafford Road, for 958 Punkatees Neck Road on Saturday, September 22nd, from 10 a.m. to 12 a.m.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the council? All those in favor? Unanimous.
Madam President, I'd also like to make a motion to approve the special event license for Joseph Zabinski, 204 Stafford Road, for the wedding to be held at 958 Punkatees Neck Road on Saturday, September 22nd, from 10 a.m. to 12 a.m.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Congratulations, and I hope everything goes well.
Thank you very much.
That's my first door. First address, that's my first door.
Town council sitting as the Board of Licensing, Shireen Majamara, DBA Fancy Corner Store, 432 Main Road, request approval for tobacco and holiday license. Is he present? No. Nancy, anything special?
No. No, he receives his licenses from the state. All he needs from the town of Tiverton is a holiday and a tobacco. And we wouldn't be issuing it until everything is in anyway.
Any questions from the council?
Madam President,
Council Edwards?
I'm going to try my hand at this last name. I'd like to make a motion to approve the tobacco and holiday license for Shireen Majmirer, DBA Fancy Corner Store, 432 Main Road.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Moving right along, appointments and resignations. Historical Cemetery Commission, 3-year term, 2 vacancies. James L. Spears, 494 West DeMello Drive, request reappointment to April 15th, 2021. Is Mr. Yeah, Jim is here. Jim, where were you?
They're in their meeting behind.
Talking about gravestones.
All right. Anything you want to say? You've been doing this a while.
Right, that's correct. Is this live?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm Jim Spears, for those who don't know me, and I've been involved in the Historical Cemeteries Commission, is the proper name, for a number of years, and I'm currently the co-chairman with Bob Martin, and we are quite active in keeping track of cemeteries. We do a lot of work at researching old cemeteries. We were working in Wingover Farm over the weekend, and there is actually a cemetery back in there, which took a little adventurous bushwhacking to get to, but we don't mind that.
God bless you.
And I have sufficient energy and knowledge of the subject, and am interested in pursuing, for another term.
Any questions for Jim?
Madam President,
Council Edwards?
I'd like to make a motion to reappoint James L. Spears, 494 West DeMello Drive, to the Historical Cemeteries Commission for a vacancy to end 4/15/2021.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous.
Okay.
Welcome aboard
up the
again.
good work.
Thank you. And if anybody needs a little bit of exercise, I have some cemeteries that need to be cleared out. We'll never run out of cemeteries that need it.
Jim, we have a new appointment coming right up, so we're getting you some backup.
Some reinforcement.
Yep.
Susan Anderson, 1137 Main Road, new appointment request. Now, because this is a new appointment, have we been advertising this for quite some? For quite some time. Okay. So we'd have to waive our procedure in order to appoint Susan as a new request. So that would be the first.
Is she here?
She is here. Should we go through that thing first, then we'll waive, and then we'll, okay.
Susan, for some reason, I thought you were on the Historical Cemetery Commission.
I'm the Historical Preservation.
Right.
If it's history, you know your stuff.
I don't know why I thought you were on this.
No, not yet,
Why are you interested in being on this?
because I'm into history.
Okay.
Right.
Any questions for Susan?
And I strongly support Susan's appointment.
Because she'll clean.
Well,
I'm gonna try to make his quorum.
yeah. But also, her group, the Historical Preservation Commission, and mine are not, we overlap, but we're not 100% overlap. We're doing the same kind of thing, but with a somewhat different focus. And I'm welcome to anyone who is knowledgeable and interested in helping to preserve our historical heritage.
Joan, did you want to ask?
I just wanted to say that I've known Susan for quite a few years, and I fully support this appointment. She will fit in great with the gang, and certainly she takes history very, very
Well,
seriously.
that's why I thought she was on this, because I know how much you love history.
Not yet.
Madam President?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to waive our normal procedure.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous?
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Susan Anderson, 1137 Main Road, to the Historical Cemeteries Commission for a 3-year term.
Second?
Motion's been made and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Here you go, Susan. Go clean some cemeteries.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Get the weed whacker ready. I know Jim's going to put you to work.
I'm gonna go into the meeting.
Okay, go ahead.
Put her to work right now.
Recycle and Landfill Committee, 3-year term. There are 4 vacancies. Jeffrey Belisle, 2 Birch Street, request reappointments, April 15th to 2021. Jeff, you've been on this for a couple of years now, at least?
Yes.
Anything you want to say?
Just want to keep going with the good work that me and Mr. Edwards and the rest of the committee have been doing. I know there are some issues that are going to be coming up at our next meeting that might be coming in front of the council if our current trash vendor does not get his act together. But we'll see if we can take care of that before the council has to be bothered.
Okay. Any questions from the council?
Madam President,
Council Edwards?
I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Jeffrey Belisle, 2 Birch Street, to the Recycling Landfill Committee for one of the vacancies to end 4/15/2021.
Second.
Madam President, I just have a question. How many there's 4 vacancies, how many people are on the committee?
Right now, it's
It's a combined recycle and landfill, so we've never had the required amounts. We combine those 2 committees.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's well, there's a number of people that are participating too. Like, I know Counselor Hilton attends the meetings as well. We have, people from the DPW department. I'm sure a new director will come. Stephen Reese comes. He's the chair. And
But they
then-
can't be part of the committee?
No, they're all members of the committee. And then we've had Richard Guimond, he comes to the
Okay.
meetings as well. I think he's a liaison with the Conservation Committee, but collectively, we all kind of make it work.
Yeah, okay. I thought there were a lot.
Yeah.
Chris, you
There's
coming
there's
out
a
of
lot
the
of
office.
us, but, there's all these vacancies too.
Yeah.
Do you have to
So-
publicize an agenda for that? Is that something you got to?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're subject to the open meeting.
We're typically in front of the Budget Committee when the Budget Committee's in session.
Okay.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you, Jeff.
See you at the next meeting. Yep.
Unfinished business, discussion and approval to advertise for the public hearing for the proposed amendment to Code of Ordinance Article, 6, outdoor seating, Chapter 6, alcohol beverage, including Section 6-83 and 6-84 to regulate outdoor. So this is the new and improved ordinance with the changes that, Peter?
So actually, some of this came from Jan, and Jan just noted to me before the meeting that his draft had notes on the side that when it got printed through the track changes program, it didn't come out in your meetings packet. But this is a draft of that ordinance, and just, Jan, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think Peter has suggested that the additional comments, because we didn't have time to actually work those out. I found a few instances of language that I thought was maybe duplicative or unnecessary, that we removed that. And the biggest comment was really that the reference to the DEM permit for septic systems should really apply not just to establishments with outdoor seating, but establishments.
It does though, doesn't it?
Well, if it does, then we don't need it in here because it's already applicable. So I just wanted to avoid the perception that we're somehow singling out establishments that have the outdoor seating because it has been a somewhat controversial topic. There is a general requirement that these businesses have to comply with state laws and regulations, including those that relate to septic systems, but also all kinds of others. So that's something I'd like to pursue a little bit further with the solicitor, but that can be done at the first hearing if you choose to advertise this.
What I understand is all establishments, when they come for licensing, has to prove certain things, and it includes the DEM, with the seating, a septic that's compatible with the number of seating, right?
You're correct on that, and I think really it could just be a formatting issue where taking a section, right now the list of application requirements follows the outdoor seating section. We could take that, put it in a separate section, and that way it would apply to both indoor seating and outdoor seating.
Right,
And the
because
only-
it really is, when you come for your license, you have to prove you have the adequate septic to the amount of seatings, and that includes whether you have an outdoor or not.
Right.
It's just all the seating.
Yeah.
So it probably just needs to be in that license where,
Yeah.
when they come for a license, it's what they normally do, it's no different. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Madam President?
What's the matter, Nan?
That's just the original license.
Right, that would apply to the original license or to an expansion of seats. It wouldn't apply if you're just coming and renewing a license that already exists.
Right, but if they're coming in for an outdoor
Right, if they're,
seating
That's an
license,
expansion. of
that would be
seats.
expansion.
unless it already existed, unless,
Well, unless it was already approved for that amount
Right.
of seats. Is that what you're saying?
yes.
Okay. So if these outdoor seatings didn't increase the amount that they originally came for, then it wouldn't be a problem at all.
Right.
But if they're increasing their seating.
Yes.
And that's what it should say.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, something to that effect.
Yeah, and that was in the notes, but it didn't come through the drafting. So.
Right, so there's no real difference because a new license would have to do this anyway. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay. John?
So, just so we're clear, this is to advertise, to hold the public hearing, so we can talk about this again?
Right.
Okay, so with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve the administrator to advertise for public hearing the proposed amendments to all those code of ordinances.
Do we have a second?
Madam President.
Because I'd like a discussion.
Yeah, I'd like a
Okay.
discussion, too.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. First of all, how many days do you need to advertise this?
21.
Okay. So,
Oh,
yeah.
no, this isn't zoning.
This
This
isn't
isn't
zoning,
zoning.
it's
It's
just
not
alcohol.
21.
It's licensing.
It's just licensing.
Okay.
So how many?
10.
It'll just be a 10 days.
So we could, oh, this is perfect. So we could do it September 23rd, it would be. Okay.
No, wait a minute.
Why not?
September 24th is the next one?
Yeah.
So it's 14
No.
days.
You can't get in?
No,
You
I
couldn't.
can't get into
No, can't get into the paper.
Tuesday. I
All right,
could do it
well,
October.
Then we need to
Ninth.
discuss
End
something.
of October.
It's gonna
Then
be-
we need to discuss something. October 9th.
It's going to be in 10 days?
Yeah. Who isn't going to be here
Put it
October
in
9th?
tomorrow.
Weekends.
Check it.
Come on, you're good.
There's no paper
You're good,
tomorrow,
you
it's
can do it.
Thursdays.
What about,
But Thursday would be, no.
I count the weekends in it? I
you can
mean,
ask them.
you're gonna push this, I have an election coming, I'm telling you, this may not get in the paper for Thursday.
Okay. All right. My
I'll
next
try.
problem is, who's not going to be here October 9th?
What's that?
Who's not going to be here October 9th?
I don't know, might not be here tomorrow. Yeah,
Aren't
I
you in
won't be.
Florida? Yeah, there's four of us not here. So the October 9th meeting, we're
We're all
not going to
going
be
on
able to
vacation
have.
together, right?
Oh, you can go weekend.
Unfortunately, I'm not going on vacation, I'm having a procedure done. But unfortunately, so the October 9th date is out. Now, what we could do is have a meeting at the end of October, I mean, at the end of September, or wait until the very last meeting before the election and do this. So I don't know how you feel, yes.
Madam President, Nancy thinks she's going to try to get it in for the second meeting in September.
Okay.
If she can't, then
I'm
we'll
kind of
just,
threatening her as to
Yeah.
another meeting that she doesn't want to do.
if we can, we can put it on again on the next.
So it worked,
meeting.
Nancy?
I'm gonna try.
You can do it. I got faith in you. I know you can.
Madam
President.
Yes.
Yeah.
Randy.
Are we ready for a discussion on this?
Yeah, we're still, yeah, I just wanted to have that
Okay.
date, just in case. And I know that you wanted to talk. Go ahead, Randy.
Okay, so before we have a public hearing on this, I would like to see the whole complete draft in front of us, exactly what we're going to do to these people, what we're going to force them to do. It's been
Well,
going, well, they've been doing this same businesses for years upon years, and one little thing clicked, and now we're upsetting 20 businesses in town that want to have outdoor seating that they've already had or presenting outdoor seating. And I would like to see it in front of me, completely done, what the
It
town,
is.
what the people are going to be voting on. So
Well,
we're,
it is right in front of you. This
no,
is-
you just said it's a mess. We don't know.
No, the only thing that will change, I think, if everyone agrees with me, is that last red line,
Mm-hmm.
a license approval for expansion of everyone's reading that one. That really needs, probably, I think was suggested to take that out of there, and that is what everyone has to do who's coming for new seating.
Right.
So, new restaurants. So that part is going to be stricken. Is that what I understand?
That paragraph will be stricken?
It'll
Yeah,
be
the red.
moved
Yep.
around. It'll be moved around so that the application requirements, so that when you come in and make your application for a new license and new seating, it applies whether it's indoor or whether it's outdoor, and it's made to try to mirror what applicants have done already
So,
too.
Peter, could you do this maybe today or tomorrow, tomorrow or this week, and maybe email it to everyone, all of us, so we can see this?
But the problem I'm having with it is, you got some businesses that pump their systems. This is, the problem we're having is how many seats their system can hold, is what I'm hearing from DEM. And we don't have 3 different businesses do it 3 different ways. Some people can have as many people as they want, in or out. Their systems are pumped weekly or monthly. So we're putting an extra burden on them, having to put licensing in that they didn't already have. We have people with septic systems who we don't, they're old in the ground, and we don't know what their problems are going to be. So we're opening up a giant can of worms that I don't believe needs to be opened.
Well, as
So-
long as DEM is approved,
Right. Yeah, so-
But,
what, the technique that they're doing,
so
it
if,
shouldn't be a problem.
so if DEM approves if, I don't know, hope somebody doesn't mind me using their name, the one down by the beach down here, Evelyn.
Evelyn's.
So Evelyn's. I only been here
I was like, oh,
56
we know
years,
that.
I forget this stuff. Evelyn's and the
Tom,
Black
you
Goose, they
remember
both have
Evelyn.
systems that's pumped out, so they should be exempt from this whole entire thing.
Well, if the. go
That's
ahead.
just my
Yeah,
opinion
go
on
ahead,
what's
yeah.
going on here.
I just want to say
Maybe
again
you explain
that
it.
nothing that is in this draft amendment to the ordinance requires anything that the state does not already require.
Correct.
And it would be really unfortunate if that's what we keep suggesting, because it's not the case. At the same time, there are state laws and regulations that require us to make sure that when people apply for these licenses, they are in fact in compliance with state laws and regulations, including the ones that relate to business regulations. So it's basically stating what's already true. Now, does it create issues? Absolutely. But we can't just keep ignoring them either. What we should do is try to work with these folks and see what the solution is. And I have offered that, time and again. So I think that is really what we should focus on.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but these folks are diligently working with DEM and to make this all work.
But we're trying to squeeze this in a 6 more week period to get this done. It's 6 more
Yeah, but
weeks.
it's all done.
I know it's done here, but these people may not be able to open their business now because they're gonna have an issue with this new stuff they have to do that they didn't have to do last year.
I think,
But I don't think it's new stuff.
no,
Yeah, I was just going to ask that. Is this all new, or is this
No,
just
this is just what you do.
what we've
to get a
had,
license.
and they're just making that change on the last
Yeah.
paragraph?
and I think that just
Because if that's what we've had right along, then
to clarify.
I don't see a problem
too,
with that
that's-
last line.
Okay, let Peter talk.
To kind of put the businesses at ease, we did put in a section that says, if you have seating and you've been licensed, we're not
Those seating.
putting additional, you're grandfathered in, you don't have any additional requirements if you have seating that's already been approved and you've gone through the process. I think the positive aspect of this is that when you've done licensing in the past, you've always made it conditioned upon, and you meet all other legal requirements, which is easy shorthand, but when something actually comes up, the business owner says, well, I didn't know that was one of the legal requirements. What we've tried to do is just list out, here's the things we're going to look at, so that way we're not looking at any and all legal requirements. We've just said, these are the areas we're going to look at. If you have a new application with new seating, whether it's indoor or outdoor, put this in your application packet, and we'll consider you just like we consider everybody else, and just like you've always been considered. But now you have an ordinance on the book that says, this is
That
your
outdoor
process.
seating is allowed.
Yes.
Right, so I just don't want to see somebody come in November, can't get this stuff done by licensing time in November, and then we shut them down for the winter until they can get it done. I want anybody who's an active business right now, not somebody brand new coming in. If they have to adhere to something that we put out, that's one thing. But if they come in and they need 6, 8, or a year to get into compliance, we don't want to shut them down.
Yeah, and
I'd like to, we have to have something like that out there for these folks, because we can't just,
Well, I think
50 years later, come up with a brand-new set of things that they can't fix immediately.
And you're right, and I think that's why we've done the temporary approval in the interim, and you can continue to do that moving forward. So I don't think you're ever going to be faced with a situation where, because of your changes, you're going to force a business to shut down. You don't have to do that. This is just kind of trying to put this
Bring
in a
everybody,
fashion
conform it
that-
into the same page. And I understand
We're
that
gonna-
having to be
right.
done, but I can't put my name on shutting a business down. It just,
Randy,
No,
the way
we're
I
not
look
gonna-
at it, and I don't know if I'm wrong, or- would you?
The key word is, he said grandfathered in. Anybody who has it now is grandfathered in.
Well,
And I think,
Grandfathered in if their seats were
right,
approved.
if they're approved as of now, they're grandfathered in. I think
But-
that's,
See, the way I look at it is, if these people come to us in November, and they have those additional outdoor seatings, and they're working with DEM to be compliant, then we do what we've always been doing.
Shouldn't be a problem.
As long as they're showing that they are working with DEM, DEM isn't having a problem because they're working with them, because it's not our rules,
Right.
it's DEM. So if DEM has no problem with it and they're working, then it's not our rules.
Right.
So if they come in November and they say, yes, I'm working with DEM, this is what's happening, we do what we did last time. They continue, that's how I look at it, continue working with DEM, and you and we grant the license.
Madam-
Because they're showing that they are being compliant in a way. They're trying to make.
All right, so if we schedule a public hearing, all these folks will be able to come up, and can we invite DEM so we can, because I hear different stories about DEM as well, saying they don't care, they do care. I would like to have DEM standing right here and say, we care or we don't care, ISDS system, or somebody from DEM can't come here.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
I know it is.
DEM
Yeah, I
does not
used to be the
care
director
about
of DEM.
indoor or outdoor seating. They couldn't care less.
But
They do care about number of seats because it has something to do with how much wastewater is generated and being disposed into the ground. That's all they care about.
Okay, so
They would like to make sure that people are in compliance with the regulations. It's none of our business, but we are supposed to check that they are in compliance. That's all it is. Not that we're going to say like, well, we don't think that you are in compliance. That's for DEM
check
to
with
say.
DEM.
And yes, it's true what the president says, that they can work with DEM. If DEM feels it's going in the right direction, takes time to resolve. Some of these situations are difficult, so they are not easily solved. And we agree with that, and we'll be glad to help and support the businesses. But we cannot, that's the one thing I want to caution again, we cannot pretend that somehow we can say that noncompliance doesn't matter. We don't have that authority.
Right, but nobody's saying that.
Well, it comes close to that, and I don't want to make false promises.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that I don't want a business to have to shut down because they have a problem that DEM, or, we dug this problem for these guys.
No, we did not.
Yeah, we did.
No,
This never existed before.
I really, I have to tell you honestly, as someone who does this kind of work, to have someone say that we're shutting down businesses,
Yeah.
I don't really find that very acceptable.
Well, that's okay if you find it acceptable or not. This is what, I talk to these folks all the time.
Well, I do too.
All right,
Yeah.
all right, so,
Okay, Madam
let
President?
me try to explain, okay, go
I
ahead.
just
Christine.
want to make sure, because I know that the businesses had a problem before, and I just want to make sure that you're in regular discussion with them. Okay, because that was an issue, and as long as we know that you guys are talking to each other,
We're trying.
Well, I called them and I asked them, are you guys happy with this ordinance that they're putting forward? And I got no. It's concerning to them.
Well, then if the
Okay?
public,
And that's the people that vote for me. That's the people who run the town. They're the people I'm concerned with.
well,
If they're concerned with it, then we have a concern. Let's address their concerns. I'm not saying throw it under the carpet. Let's get together. Right, let's.
right, but that's what the public hearing is for. When we have a proposal, then of course the restaurants can come and speak to us and give us their opinion, and so can other citizens. But I think what Randy, you're not understanding, we are not saying we're going to close you down. We're just saying the DEM regulates you, and if they're fine with it, we're fine with it. Am I right?
Yes, yeah.
That's all there is to it. And if you're working with DEM, and I'm sure DEM doesn't want to close businesses down either, I think that they will be, as long as you're working with them, and we don't get some notification from DEM that says they need to be shut down, but it wouldn't be us, correct?
Yep, and no, that's absolutely true. And, there was concern, certainly was concern with some of the business owners when this first was presented. They looked at the new ordinance, and their assumption was, well, there's new requirements we have to be put on. Really, I think the best way to look at this is clarifying what the town is doing, so that when someone comes into town, they look at the ordinance and see, well, what do I need to do to get a vittling license? It's all just spelt out what they mean by the legal requirements. That being said, to try to put the business owners at ease, we did put that grandfathering clause in there. And I think that's one thing that we can say, well, we have that in there to make sure that we're not trying to throw something new at you and shut you down. So that's one thing that if you get a call on that, you can point to that. The other issue is, and I think the businesses, I've seen how we've worked with them with this interim solution, so they know that while we're figuring out how to do the town's ordinance, we're not trying to do anything that would put them down. And in fact, we're going out of our way to make sure that they're always going to be open. We always have something in place, even if it's an interim solution, so they're going to be able to operate.
And I'm sure some of these businesses are their septic is fine too. Right? I don't think it's all these businesses that are including outdoor seating that we're having a problem with. And the people that may have,
Business with this temporary.
what's the matter?
I think I had a phone call from maybe one business with this temporary setup we have. So the only
Can
thing
you
I'm
use the
saying
mic?
is
Yeah, use
you
the
gotta be
microphone.
clear, because I'm gonna have these people coming in for applications, and we gave them that kind of grandfathered in and stuff. I did have one, two businesses call me, but no one specifically came in with what was, required at that time. I'm just saying it's not gonna be as easy in November as you think it's gonna be. Not that it can't be done, I'm just saying
Right,
it's
but if-
not gonna be
if-
as easy, because
And I think,
If their seating has increased because of outdoor seating.
well, and I think that's the key point, is that most of the businesses have been operating with a number of seating for a number of years. They're not changing their seatings. They're just getting renewal, and the renewal process is going to be the same for those businesses. It's only with the businesses that are new to town, expanding the seating, that they need to go through the process that's separate for the new or expanded application, so.
But the expanded application, would that be any business, this is the key here. Is this any, and this is what Randy's talking about, any businesses who now have been running with the outdoor seating, but it's more seating than what the license says? That's what I'm asking. So would they have a problem?
With that grandfather provision, if they are already operating with seating at the time that this ordinance is enacted, and they don't have any other issues, this ordinance will not treat their license as a new.
But suppose if their application said 20 seats, and since then, they have put in 20 more additional outside, now they have 40 seats.
So, so if in the interim they expanded their seating?
Yeah,
Okay, so it would be,
because that's who Randy you're talking about, is talking. I think.
Madam President?
So I say, so long as these people, and I'm not saying, Jan, that we're trying to shut anybody down. I just don't want to see anybody get shut. There's nobody up here who wants to shut a business out of this town. So don't misunderstand what I'm saying. There's a set of rules to be followed, but they've been following a set of rules, right, wrong, or indifferent, for X amount of years. And now they're going to have to come into compliance. All right, so they all have to come into compliance. But we just can't say November, whatever the date is, 2nd, 3rd, 30th, whatever the date is. If they can't come into compliance, we can't say, oh, well, guess what? Too bad for you. We're not going to do that. We're going to make sure that they have time to get into compliance with whatever the laws are that was been
But it's
overseen.
not our rule,
But- I know it's not our rule, but we never, in the last 30 years, we never enforced any of this until
Yeah.
Lyrics opened up, and now it's getting enforced. I understand that we have a set of rules that need to be followed, and let's get it all straightened out and fixed, but not on the backs of these people. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not, Jan, I don't want you to think that I'm saying that just we're the bunch of evil people shutting people down, because it's not what I'm saying.
Madam President?
Yes.
Thank you. So I just want to point out here, I made the motion to move this to public hearing because I think that we're talking ourselves in circles here, and this needs to be hammered out in the eyes of the public. That being said, if I was pushed right now and asked to vote on this, I would vote no. And I would vote no because the genesis of this discussion came from the idea that we could not allow outdoor seating and service of liquor outdoors because nothing in our code of ordinances defined the premise. Now, what we've done since then is we've opened up this can of worms, where now we're talking about you have to be in compliance with this, and we have to codify that. And if you look at our code of ordinances, we as the Board of Licensing have the ability to issue these licenses as they stand today. All we have to do is modify the premise. And I think that we have spent an inordinate amount of time as a council, and we've wasted solicitors' time dealing with this issue, when from the get-go, all we had to do was issue the licenses and define the premise. So with that, I'm ready to call the question at this point, because we've gone back and forth so much saying the same thing over and over again.
All right. So, we are going to get a fresher copy of this, and we'll get it out to the council this week so the council can look at it.
I have extra copies. Yeah.
Okay. And we'll have the public hearing on September 23rd, and that's really, 24th, I'm sorry. And that's really where we hash this out, when the public comes and gives us their opinion and the restaurant owners talk to us.
Just very quickly, I would like to say, just like we tried to do when we tried to come up with the interim solution, I think it's important that people know who are concerned about this, that my door is open. They can call me, they can come in, we can talk if they want to have a meeting with everybody in the room. we can do that again as well, because I think that is important. A lot of this is sort of fear that, something is happening that nobody here really wants to see happen. So we're available.
So, do I have a motion for September? Oh, Joan, I'm sorry.
I just have a few questions. You said that this is grandfathered for existing,
Doesn't say.
Right.
but I don't see anything in here.
So
It's also not a thing we can do.
It's section,
Grandfather you to break the law if that's.
it's
along with the
section
law is the law.
6-83. It says that this ordinance is not intended to prohibit any lawfully existing outdoor seating predating the enactment of this ordinance. Any liquor license holder that lawfully maintained outdoor seating prior to the enactment of this ordinance shall be allowed to continue such lawful pre-existing outdoor seating, but shall be required to comply with the application review process outlined. And that's in the victualling too. So that's, the intent
So
of
it
that was
doesn't
just to
say
say.
grandfather.
And that's E1C or E1B?
That's section 68.3, the introductory paragraph, and section,
We have two, and one of them's got red, one of them doesn't.
Yeah, one's the final one, one's
okay,
the,
yeah.
one's the changes.
If you look at E1C, it's in section 6-83, and it's also in section 22-12.
So, Peter, just to clarify. Oh, sorry. I apologize, Counselor Shabbat.
Go ahead, Joan.
Thank you for answering that. My next question is,
You only were allowed one. No, go ahead.
oh, well, there's only allowed one. I just wanted to clarify, since everything is like underlined
Yeah.
in this.
It's true.
So in comparison to what's in the code right now,
This is whole cloth new.
this is what?
Everything in this is new.
Everything in this is new.
New language. New language.
Because it
Okay.
refers to outdoor seating.
Okay, so I can understand that for Article 6, outdoor seating, and that's all, that's Section 6, 83 through 84. And then when you get to Article 3, vitriol licenses, you have Section 21-11, and in general. So then we have some red line that is taking out some language for takeout.
This is duplicative.
Oh, these red lines, these might be beyond redlining a prior version. But in any event, all the language is not currently in existence.
So then what follows for Section 21, 11, 12, and 13 is all brand new?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So my next question is, this is staying specific for outdoor seating, okay? And we've been talking about the process and what they have to do to get a license. So is there part of the ordinance that says specifically what they have to do to get a vitriol license if they don't have outdoor seating?
There is not.
So there's no current,
There's a state law, there's state law, but in your actual code of ordinance, we had to put in a new section just to say these are the general, just to take what's in state law and enable it into your book of ordinances,
Which is not,
which was what we put in here for section 22-11, and then the rest of that.
explain that again.
so for what I understand, this whole document is brand new, and it specifically says outdoor seating, but it also encompasses indoor seating.
Yes,
The two different articles.
right, so.
So in the past, in our current code of ordinances, we do not have any instructions in our code to say how to apply for a victualling license or for a liquor license.
Liquor license you did. A victualling license, no, and that's why we put the in general section in there.
So is that in general, though? That's what Jones asked. Oh, I
Right.
see,
So that in
2211.
general section is new for victualling. For a liquor license, you already had something in there.
And it referred it to state law?
And yes, the liquor, so the liquor license section, all we put in was outdoor seating. That's because you have prior sections that refer to state law. In victualling license, you didn't have that, so we put that in there, which just says, in general, the town council shall issue victualling licenses to all victualling houses as defined in state law. And then we reference the state law statute that gives the town the power to do victualling licenses.
Okay, so when we put this into our code of ordinance, then we would have to, every time there is a change to Chapter 24, General Law, Title 5, Chapter 24, we would have to review this ordinance and change it to be in compliance with state law.
Well, that's a fair point. Usually when we do state law references, we do it more generally for that reason. The vittling license ordinance really hasn't been amended in probably over 100 years, but I think in this
It's
case,
true.
you're right, you do a general, usually, I could change that to a more general reference to say, town council shall issue vittling licenses to all vittling houses as defined in state law without citing the specific chapter. And that way, if there ever is an amendment, they put it in a different chapter, we wouldn't need to amend the ordinance. So that's a fair point.
All I'm getting at is, we're now putting more detail into our ordinance than we've had before. And before, we would just say, okay, it's subject to state law, and just refer that to state law and not worry about all this. So it's not that we couldn't do it in the past. We have been able to do this in the past and have done it, whether it's indoor or outdoor seating, whether it's liquor or vitrilling, we have done it.
I think the problem was that we didn't have an outdoor, Nancy was, correct me if I'm wrong, it was the outdoor alcohol one that was the concern. That's how this all started.
That's how it started.
That's how it all started, because we didn't have a license to serve alcohol outside. Isn't
But
that
we're
how?
not creating a new license with this, or are we? Are we going to have a second license that we're going to charge somebody?
No,
It's included
it's
in
because
the
it-
license for
So if
outdoor
it-
as well. We said no new license.
So-
Because as we were talking about this, Nancy said, by the way, everyone, don't you remember?
I recall.
We don't have an outdoor.
And then
liquor
research
license
was done, and it said that the only requirement for the state was they had to define the premise.
With the seating.
Yeah, which that I think follows along with Joan's point, is the fact that there even is a grandfathering clause in here, something that states that there are, any holder of a liquor license that lawfully maintain outdoor seating, indicates that at some point in time, prior councils have given businesses the ability to do this, which means we don't need this in order to do that.
I don't think we actually ever gave
And-
the ability to do that, as Nancy said. People just started,
Well, I think Little
It's
Beer
it's
got
on
one, and
specific
one.
licenses.
Black Goose.
yeah, but there's some licenses we looked up that they don't have it.
And I think, to
Yeah,
the
you
point
have
that's
it.
being
You
made is
definitely
that
have
there's really a policy consideration about whether you want to have an ordinance that's general or an ordinance that's detailed. There's benefits to an ordinance that's detailed, because you go and look at the ordinance and you know exactly what it's requiring you to do and what it's being referred to. On the other hand, if you have an ordinance that's general, then, you can, I guess you could say you could treat it with a little bit more flexibility or a little bit more loosely, but, that's really a decision for the council to decide how you
So,
want it to be ordered.
this is what I want to do, and I hope you all agree with this. This is discussion for the hearing where we hear from the public on October 24th, and we can further this discussion. Everyone can go home and think more about it. The public has 10 days to read over all of this and come and question us. At that point, if we decide we just don't want it, we cannot have it. But we have to have a public hearing on this. So is that okay with everyone, John?
I made the motion.
John made the motion.
And I made the motion specifically
So we
because I
can
want to
move it
hear from all the
forward.
businesses, so they can come up here and back me
Yes.
up on the point that we don't
Yeah,
need this thing.
Because this isn't a public hearing right now. And no one is allowed to talk until the public hearing, which will be, all this is to move this forward.
Now, are these folks going to have a copy of this before this public hearing so they can understand?
They can. This
No,
is a-
of the new one that we're going to make. They're going to get a copy of that
They
somewhere.
have this.
Yeah, they have.
And that's going to be what the new one is?
I will draft this up. I'll try to get it done tomorrow and out tomorrow.
And we'll have copies available in Nancy's office and
And I'll
Jan's
distribute it
office.
to the restaurant
And we'll
group, too.
distribute it to the restaurant group. How does that sound?
That sounds good.
Okay.
Second.
Joan, I know there's something, I don't know if you had more questions.
seconded me a while ago.
Joan?
My only point to this is, my next question is just, do we have ordinances to cover any license that we generate and document the detailed requirements to apply for that license in the ordinances today.
You do have certain licenses, you do have ordinances for. Not all licenses you have ordinance for. Some of them are only in state law. Some are in state law and they have an ordinance that kind of puts together the application requirements, certain conditions you put on, that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I have a motion and a second. I'm overheating.
Wait a minute, what's the motion?
The motion
move it
is
forward to the public
move it
hearing.
forward to the public hearing for September 24th.
So then I can vote it down.
And then we can all talk about it, and we can get public input. So the motion was made by
Counselor
John
Perry
and
seconded.
seconded by Joe. All those in favor to move this forward to October 23rd? Against? 4th?
24th. 24th.
24th, I keep saying the wrong date, I'm sorry.
October 24th?
September.
September 24th.
I screwed up.
2 weeks,
So it'll be next, it
2 weeks.
was 4 to 2. It was Joan and Mandy that was.
It's 6, Gina. 4 and 2 is 6.
And this by no means means that this is passed. This just
Right.
means that we're going to
wanna
hear
have a
public
discussion.
input, and we are going to make the decision that night. Okay. All right. Town clerk. Nancy wants to buy a new rug. Town clerk requests approval to purchase new carpeting for the main lobby and hallways in the town hall. After review of 3 quotes with DPW Director Rogers, permission to use funds up to $13,000 from Capital Reserve 098099999.
Madam President, after further discussion with DPW Director Rogers, I'd like to increase that to 14,000, because we're not quite sure if we run into any
Now, you don't
problems.
have a specific vendor you
We have 3, but we're going to sit down and go over the rugs and the quality in between, but we do have 3 quotes. 2 we received before the packets went out, which was one from Allied for I think 13,004, and one from Regal for 11,600. And today we received another one from Harmon. So we do have 3 different quotes, and that would be to replace the carpeting in this lobby, including the 2 halls down towards the building officials and the area in front of the tax collection counter.
My next question is for Peter. Do we have to approve what vendor we're going, we don't have to,
Can it be subject to?
don't we usually approve on?
Madam President, if this is construction, wouldn't the amendment to our ordinances that we just passed mean that we don't have to approve this process?
That's
Nancy, you can just go ahead and do it.
Yeah, this is a small purchase.
Yeah, but we're taking from the capital reserve.
It's under
No,
the
the transfer you need
17,000.
to approve.
Yeah, the transfer we need to, but we don't have to approve, of course we have to approve the transfer, but we don't have to know the vendors or anything, just say, yes, this is the amount of money we want, okay? Do I have a motion?
And the funds would be coming from the capital reserve, and I checked with the treasurer. There's still about 60,000 in that account. It's what we purchased the truck for. And I mean, you can just tell this carpeting really, I know it's been here longer than I have, so I'm not quite sure.
Well, it lasted a long time.
Wow, that long?
Randy, that's dangerous comment there, buddy.
All right, do I have a motion?
Madam President,
Go ahead, John.
I'd like to make a motion to grant the town clerk the permission to use funds from Capital Reserve account 0980-9999 up to $13,000 at her discretion for carpeting. $14,000. I apologize, Nancy.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Thank you.
Can't wait to see it.
Hey, take Shag.
Could somebody text, Tim? And tell him around 9:30 maybe? Do you agree? Probably a little, maybe 9 o'clock, huh, yeah?
At this rate, tell him to get in his car
Oh, I don't know, there might be other, yeah, tell him around 9. Tell him around 9. I'm sorry, that's for executive. New business, Thomas Ramatowski, Chairman of the Fogland Beach Oversight Committee, established by the recommendation of the Conservation Commission, January 26, 2004, disassemblment of the Fogland Beach Oversight Committee.
Madam President, members of the Town Council, I'm here tonight to bring up something that doesn't come up very often. It's an opportunity to actually reduce the size of government in the town. Not for any nefarious reason, but for the reason that we created this committee in 2004 to do some specific things, and it basically has done everything that it was assigned to do by the council back then. And some of you may remember back when this was being done, there was a lot of infighting between boards and commissions that had responsibilities down there. We almost came to knock down, drag out fights in front of the council back then. This was an attempt to stop that, to get everybody to work together for the benefit of the town. And I'm very happy to report that it has worked. The level of interest back then was pretty high. It slowly dropped off. We even have, last couple of years, we've had trouble making a quorum because I think everything that was acrimonious, that was contentious, has basically been resolved. And if you've been down there and you remember what it looked like, say, in the early 2000s compared to what it is now, I think everybody would agree that it's a much better place, looks a lot better, and is better for the environment as well. So I just briefly wanted to say that we had members from Conservation, Recreation, Harbor, Open Space, the Town Administrator, Director of Public Works, and a neighborhood representative, and these people changed over time, but the ultimate goals stayed the same. We did, in fact, meet the ones that are on attachment number 1, where it says that the committee will work to come up with plans to manage the area, which was done, create a proper to-scale drawing. We have a surveyor, an official surveyor map of the area that's in the town records. So anytime the DPW or anybody else needs to work down there, they have that to go by. If we get wiped out by a storm, we have that to go by to recreate areas or know where things were and things of that sort. Anytime now there's an application to do these routine maintenance ideas, we brought about 20 of them to CRMC and got a lot of them approved as what they call FONSI, finding of no significant impact, which allows us to do them as we need to, and the ones that they felt were important that we needed to go back to them for a sense, which is what they call their permits, were outlined. So that was resolved. That used to cause no end of trouble, and people would go and do them on their own without checking with anybody. And then finally, the playground. Where people remember the playground used to be on the north side of the road, and it had an entrance that basically dumped right into the road. And there were dunes and grass, and you couldn't see a kid, 1 foot away from the road. It was a hazard waiting to happen. And believe it or not, we had fights over that and whether that should be moved or whether that should be fixed. And the group got together, agreed on it, moved it, and now, as people know, it's on the other side, it's fenced in, it's near where people can sit and watch their children play in the water and also see what goes on in the playground and not have to worry about somebody jumping out and maybe getting hurt. So the liability issues to the town are gone. So I think everything's been done, a good job's been done, and it's time to retire the commission. It was created by a motion from the council, as Amendment 1 shows, and then Attachment 1, sorry. And then Attachment number 2 is just an additional, this was actually a resolution of the council a little bit later that told people in town how the issue of getting a sense or permits from CRMC down there would work. And this would need to be revoked as well because it directs people to go to the committee, which presumably would be disestablished. So this could go now too and not misdirect people to something that no longer exists. So again, I think we've done the job. It's time for this committee to be retired. As you know, we also have changes coming up on Section 54, which covers the beaches, and conservation will actually be getting out of the landowning business and turning it over to open space where it belongs. And so far, so good. So.
Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
Madam President?
Yes.
Do we need to make a motion and
We do.
Okay.
We do need
All right, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the disestablishment of the Fogland Beach Oversight Committee and direct the clerk or ask the clerk to draft a resolution reflecting that disestablishment and the change in the CRMC permits and all that stuff.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Oh, yeah.
Is that going to suffice, Mr. Solicitor?
Yeah, if it did,
Beautiful.
you'd say something. All the, motion been made and second, all those in favor? Unanimous.
We thank them.
Yes.
Less government's always good.
Let's go. Council LeBeau, discussion approval to advertise for public hearing for casino revenue ordinance. It's in front of you. I do believe Randy wants to suggest some changes.
Well, the only change is, I don't want to see the money in 2-92 go to the general fund. Going to the general fund, you need to act of Congress to get money out of the general fund if something's needed. So I'd like to change some wording here if it's possible. I talked to the solicitor before the meeting, where it says, the council may deposit the remainder in the general fund for purposes of. The purposes were great. I added a purpose, debt reduction, and I changed, the council will deposit the remainder in a special fund to be used for those three, for the three items that were listed here.
Remain special to restricted?
Remand general, oh, yeah, okay. That's special,
restricted, right?
special to restricted is fine by me. I just don't want it going to the general fund, because every time I mention general fund over the last 21, 22 months, it was, no way, you can't touch the general fund. So we don't want to put money that where we can't touch it. And this way here, we have it coming up for a referendum, and now with this new proposal, we'll be able to access the money to do what was originally planned for by referendum.
My only question, and Peter, this is for you. We do have this as a charter change, okay? Now, suppose that charter change goes down and the people vote no. What happens to this ordinance?
The ordinance will stay in place. The only difference, if the charter change is not voted in, any future council could repeal it or change it.
But my question is, so why are they voting for it if we're doing it? Like, we're doing this, we're doing exactly what we want to propose the charter change to be.
Yep.
So by doing this, we really didn't have to do the other one.
I think that the difference would be.
I'm just asking, I'm not arguing.
No.
I just, okay.
No, you're right. You're right that it is kind of a belt and suspenders type of approach. But if you put it in the charter, it will stay in the charter and bind the council and the town unless it gets voted on again by the electorate who agrees to change it. So
Right, so that's really a little more solider
Yes.
than this ordinance.
Yep.
But what we're doing is, by making this ordinance, and the people vote against it, then we're saying, well, it doesn't matter what you vote, we're doing it anyway, and then another council can come in and change it. Is that's the difference?
Yeah, that's the difference. And then actually, the one other difference would be that where the charter amendment is more general, this ordinance does have some specific.
So so, are we putting the copy for, like, if the voters vote to do it, then we do the ordinance to be more specific?
You could do that. You could do that, wait to see what the voters say, and if the voters say, we like this, okay, we'll implement what you did. If the voters don't vote it, I guess you could look at that as saying, we don't like this idea,
But we said before they vote, well, we're gonna do it anyway.
So what you could do is, you could take this and put the public hearing out beyond the election.
Yeah, I just want to try to explain this, because people are going to ask about, like, why are you doing an ordinance and asking us to vote on it? And if we vote no, you already have an ordinance, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
Madam President?
you could do that.
Well, yeah, so I just want to be able to explain this to people. All right, John?
The only thing I would say is that I think it would be worthwhile at least having the discussion and making it a matter of public record for what this council intends to do in the event that none of us are here after November. I mean, I think it would be nice for the incoming council to have some sort of a record of what our intentions were after going through that process, especially in the event that it does pass by the charter, and then a whole new council sits here and they say, okay, great, well, now what do we specifically do? We should at least lay the groundwork for them.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sense of it, which I'm not quite sure I agree with doing it this way, but I will definitely listen to what people have to say and vote accordingly. But I was just wondering the process and I wanted to understand it. Joan?
Yeah, I have to say something. Okay, I just want to, because I might have missed what you said. Randy, you wanted to eliminate 2-92 and have all the money go to those,
No, he's striking the word general and changing it to restricted.
To restrict it, so
So the
it
council
doesn't
may
go into the
deposit
general
the
fund.
remainder
And striking
in,
the word may and we're changing it to shall,
okay.
or will.
Will or shall,
the council will deposit the remainder in the,
special, or the restricted.
Restricted fund. For purposes of those,
Of
this
of
A and
everything.
B?
Of
A, B,
A,
add
B,
C.
and I added C, debt
C
debt
was
service
debt
or debt
reduction.
reduction.
That's
No,
already in.
Wait a minute. So, no, the A and B that's underneath 292, are you crossing that off?
okay.
The
No.
financial ratings? Okay, so that's A.
that state.
That stays, and reducing cost of financing and associated debt, and/or, no, and B is emergency funding, and you're putting a third one in?
No, I don't need to
No,
put the
it's up
third one
here.
because it's already up at the top.
So, no C, only A and B.
But now,
No, that doesn't
No,
make
that
any
doesn't make
sense to
sense.
me.
what doesn't make sense?
B is either capital development or emergency funding.
You're looking at the
No,
next
in section
Section
2-92.
Oh, you said 292.
Yeah, 292.
Yeah.
Okay, so, in the charter, ballot question, we refer to casino gaming revenue going to debt reduction or debt service, capital development, and infrastructure
Yeah, right,
projects.
yeah, we have
Those
that.
three. We don't say anything about what's in 2-92. We do say, the next sentence, in no event shall any casino gaming revenue be used by the town's operating budget. So, in my opinion, anything on 2-92 through emergency funding comes out, because that was not in the charter amendment that will be on the ballot.
Right.
And then 2-93 should be 2-92. And how I see that this is different than the charter amendment is that this goes into detail on how to manage that money. And that's the important part of this ordinance.
Right, and all I'm saying is, this is very important, but if it passes, then we should do the ordinance. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think this is really good, but I'm just wondering, I'm not.
And I'll make one more comment on the last section here. The last sentence, where it says the town council shall, so it goes through the budgetary process, and we go through the budgetary process with the same process with this gaming revenue as we currently do for our regular budget, municipal budget. But at the last sentence, it says the town council shall approve the final allocation of gaming revenue no later than the date scheduled for the approval of the final municipal budget. I think that's where you run into an issue of what that process should be. Should it be just left up to the town council? Or should it be left up to the town council to put it on the FTR for voter approval? So that's where I'm sitting with this. So if you're going to have a public hearing on this, I think it's important so that we can explain to the public what our intentions are for this charter amendment, and to explain, this is how we see the allocation going to these three items, and not going to the operating budget, and then explain the process in this 2-93 process of how we expect to have the people, the budget committee, and the people be aware of what this money is being spent on. Because it doesn't just go into a black hole, and it needs a process, and this documents the process. I think this is more important to get this out in front of the public before the November election, so they understand what our intentions are.
Madam President,
That's basically what I said before. People should decide where the money's going.
So Randy, what do you think about what Joan said?
I think what Joan said was basically everything that's on this document. But the money that 92 is talking about is the money that we didn't need, or that wasn't spent. So this is money hasn't been spent.
But-
I don't want it to, by the town for debt reduction, capital development, and so this is, say that we have $1 million, there's 200,000 left, then it's gonna go into these funds.
So I think actually, this ordinance, it's not perfectly in line with the charter, so it could exist without the charter. If the charter came in, obviously it would supersede it, but Joan's right, where the charter says, you have X, Y, Z you can spend it on.
The top.
And that's what you can spend it on. You considered about having an emergency clause in there. You didn't put it in.
Correct.
So now you're stuck to X, Y, Z. So, depending, so I think it's true that certain aspects of this ordinance could change on whether or not the charter amendment gets passed.
Right.
So, and the process, that's going to be in there no matter what happens, because you have to have the process about how you allocate it.
Okay.
I believe that in the process, you don't have to use all the money. So it just stays in the restricted account until the town council puts forth a budget
Yeah, that's,
for debt reduction, capital development, or infrastructure projects.
I never understood that the remainder would go into the general fund.
Yeah.
They would stay in these,
They would-
piggybacks or whatever you want to call them.
Restricted
In
accounts.
these restricted accounts, and then if we need, we can use it next year to do debt service, or in the
Right.
middle of the year, say we want to,
But
we
this
have an
makes,
infrastructure
Build a road
problem.
or-
this makes sure that happens.
Right, but what Joan has no problem with 2-91, I think, that's what I understand, but she wants to delete 2-92. Is that correct, Joan?
Except for the last sentence.
Except for the last sentence.
In no event shall concede of revenue be in town's operating budget, but couldn't we just include that in 2-91?
Yeah,
at
that's
the
what
end
she's
of that?
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you could do that, and then turn 2-93 into 2-92.
Right, now.
Unless, Randy, what you're concerned about is to say that all this revenue is deposited into restricted accounts.
Correct, not the general fund. We don't want
So
it,
we could just make a general statement like we did with the no event.
Yeah.
And just say,
Shall be.
all monies, all gaming right is will be deposited into restricted account.
correct, for
counts.
these purposes.
For the
Correct.
above.
Right.
For the above purposes.
Right.
Yep.
Now, Joan, over here it says the town council shall include the proposal with the budget information. See the sentence before what you read to us. Made available to the public and allow for public comment during public workshops, meetings, and at least one public hearing as part of the budget process. So that kind of,
That could be our town council budget process before it gets to the budget
budget
committee.
but
So
that
it might
has-
be, this might need to be a little fleshed out a little bit more, but I
More
think it has the
specific.
basic process there that we need to
bring it forward.
bring it forward to the people.
Yeah, I think we need to bring it forward to the people. I just wanted it to be explained, like what
Yep.
this does, that's all. I'm not opposed to it, I
Madam
really
President?
have no opinion. Go ahead.
Sorry, John.
He's been waving to me for a while.
I wave to her all the time, but, yeah.
He wasn't just saying hi.
So I was asked a little while ago to work with the solicitor and the treasurer on an ordinance. Then we talked about the charter amendments, and then it became a little confusing whether or not we needed both. We decided that we at least would draft something also because Randy was asking for it so that there could be further discussion. But part of what I tried to do with that last section was not create a totally separate process that would take, as much time as the regular process, but try to have it concurrent as much as possible. So that's what we're trying to do here. And then with respect to that second section, maybe we were trying to just please too many people, but there was discussion of, how important it might be if there was in fact extra money to put it in the general fund because of the financial ratings that the town has. And it improves the financial rating, which then makes it cheaper to finance if you ever have to do financing, things like that. And also, there was discussion of, let's make sure we do have, money for emergency purchases. But you're absolutely right that that was not part of the charter amendment as it was passed, so.
But in a way, if we reduce that, we do our capital development and not ask for that from the taxpayers and the infrastructure, our general fund may increase if.
That's correct. You're right.
Right.
Just like taxes might be,
Might go down, but
Might
our
go
general,
down, yeah.
our general will probably increase also if we start reducing all of these. Because we take from the general fund every year to balance the budget.
right.
We should never have to do that again.
Right, so if we didn't do that, our general fund would be higher, and our debt would, our town financial ratings would be higher too, so.
Madam President.
So, do you want it, oh, go ahead, I'm just trying to speed this along, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to make sure, and this is the thing I like about it, is the bottom piece. I do think we need the emergency funding, but it's not going to, I think we need to listen to what people are saying. And I think we need to get it out there, because that has been something I've been trying to do for over a year. I know, Randy, you've been trying to do it too. It doesn't happen. I would like to hear what people say. And it's like, this to me is the way we're going to do it. And I don't see any problem with, if it passes, if the resolution passes, the resolution passes. That's fine. This is still encapsulated in that. If it doesn't pass, we still have something to work on. So, I mean, and if we've got the people talking about it, that's really, that to me, that's the biggest thing that we need to do. Get it out there and get people talking about it so we can hear it.
So do you want to move it forward as is for the public hearing, and then during the public hearing, we can tweak it, or do we want to tweak it now?
I could draft something along the lines that Joan was discussing.
As long as we all agree with that.
Yeah.
Right. And you could even do,
Well, you know what I'm saying, like.
you could put two drafts, one as it is and one as discussed. And, you could put them both on the public hearing, and both would be available in the clerk's office, and you could have a vote that night. I don't know if you just want to send the one that Joan was discussing.
I'm okay with either one.
We could just send this one forward, and then Joan, during the public hearing,
That's true.
we vote, we hear what everybody said, no? Joan?
No, because Brandy also said he wanted you to change
tweak
it
it
to
a little bit.
restricted
What
fund.
do you think, Randy?
So,
Yeah, I'd
So-
like to
Yeah, but Joan wants to get rid of that whole thing.
yeah, I'm okay with that
Go ahead,
too.
Joan.
So can we just, so what I would propose is 2-92 be changed to say, instead of other use of casino gaming revenue, be renamed to be restrictive accounts. Follow that with, the casino gaming revenue will be deposited into restricted accounts, period. Eliminate that whole section, but include, after that, in no event shall any gaming revenue be used in the town's operating budget, period.
Perfect.
Should we put restricted accounts as listed above in 2.2-91? So that we know what these restricted accounts are?
Yeah, but that's limiting us to those three. We just put.
Right, but
restricted-
we are limited to.
Yeah, we are.
We don't need,
Those three.
we don't actually need three separate accounts. We need
One.
one restricted account from which the only things we can pull the money from has to fall into this category.
So, into
So-
a restrictive account,
Yeah,
Yeah.
period,
period.
okay?
And up here it says what we need to spend it on.
And the only thing I would change on 2-93, because I really have a,
Oh,
three,
Three,
change,
it'll be
yeah.
three.
I have a problem with the last sentence.
So why don't we just eliminate that sentence and put,
I would recommend the town council shall approve the final allocation of gaming revenue no later than, and at the end,
no, later than the date.
allocation of gaming revenue slash expenditures.
Ida?
So
The town
this was the
council-
last section in what's currently
Town
292.
council
Final
shall approve the
allocation
final
amount.
allocations of gaming revenue lit no later than the date.
Why not just the town council shall approve the final allocation of gaming revenue, period, strike the rest?
Or you could put no later than
It
the
isn't.
date of the approval of the town council budget, because that's a date that you have in there in your
Yeah.
Right.
Just say your town council
Yes.
budget, and
And
you'll approve the revenue by that date.
The approved town council budget, okay.
Joan?
Did you still want expenditure in there?
It is.
Pardon?
Would you object to putting on the ABC at the top, emergency funding, or we can't do that
Can't
because
do
of?
that.
We can't do it
That was
because-
not
That was not what was
added at
noted
the
as a-
public hearing on the
Because that was-
ballot
that was
questions.
a concern when we
I
were doing that, and
agree.
it never got put in, but,
Yeah, but we didn't vote.
yeah, we never got it.
Right.
On the other hand, if we have more money in the general fund, you know, that could be something that people might be able, that could go into an FTR proposal,
Or-
right? You
or
could say
if-
we want to
You
put.
could if you wanted to, yeah, yeah,
So we
later
don't-
on in the
So we could
process.
do it,
Counselor
yeah.
Shabba, are you
Later
finished
on
with
in the
your
process.
Yeah.
amendments to this?
And I would,
Yeah, that,
so, I would somehow like to also include and be voted on at the FTR.
yeah, because we're putting approved municipal budget, which will be then voted at the FDR.
Mr. Solicitor, you got all
Well, no,
that?
we're presenting this to the budget committee, though, aren't we?
No, no,
No, no.
Okay,
None of their business.
no.
that's what I'm asking, okay.
We're presenting it to a lot of folks, but that's why it says shall approve the final allocation, but we still want to have the voters approve it.
Which will be then approved at.
And
at
so- and
the
subject-
annual FDR.
To final voter approval at the FTR.
Got it?
That's not what you said earlier.
So,
No, that's why we did it now.
Wait a minute,
Get some
wait a minute.
discussion.
so then, I guess the question would be then, as far as elector petitions,
But that's
if the
saying,
charter amendment passes, those funds are restricted, the gaming revenue funds are restricted to those purposes. So if it's voted at the FTR, that would assume it's going to be subject to
change.
elector petitions.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
shouldn't be.
So that could open a can of worms.
No, because if they say, yes, you can do this with it,
And
then
the
why,
resolution.
then why do we, that's like getting a double approval. Because we said we're gonna do debt.
Because if the FDR said, you know,
Because then you're saying
if the
voters
council
could say
said,
no.
okay, here's capital, and here's the debt reduction, and here's the infrastructure.
Then we at least have to have
Public hearings and everything.
approval after a public hearing.
That's it.
Approval by us. Oh, the
That's
council.
already.
The town council shall include the proposal with budget information made available to the budget and allow for public comment. So really, Joan, you could take that whole last sentence off.
And you could also say, approved approved town council budget, and incorporate it into any FTR budget proposals, because that way, whether it's an electoral, no.
I think that's what we want.
I think,
I think that that last sentence has to be taken off.
Yeah, I have a problem with that last sentence.
Just
So we
if you-
could move forward without the last sentence?
Yeah. If you
Strike the last
completely
sentence.
take the last sentence
Done.
off, then it's saying that we're gonna have workshops.
And then if we have a public hearing, then we can work out final details.
Yeah.
But
Love
I
it.
think the last
The last sentence needs to be
Just-
knocked off.
okay,
gets me.
Yeah.
okay.
But otherwise, it's a great job in putting together a process.
That's all I want.
No, seriously,
We
this,
did change it a little bit.
sorry, I'm a little picky.
Madam President?
No, it's good.
We didn't
All
really
right,
change
so
much.
you have all that?
I do.
Okay, and you
Actually-
will get that to us, and the public hearing will be when, guys?
Actually, I think John was going to propose a motion
Yeah,
that documents all this, right?
Yes, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the advertisement for a public hearing for the casino revenue ordinance as amended by Counselor Shabbat.
Now, my question is, no,
This little
No.
ordinance-y thing,
Draft.
we want to send that, advertise it out.
but when is the public hearing? That's what I was getting at, guys, but that's part of your motion. When do you want this public hearing? Do you want to do it on September 24th again, or do you want a special one for this?
September the 24th?
That's
a
gonna
long
be,
night.
that,
It'll be a
that's gonna
long
be a
night.
huge night. Do you wanna do these,
So that's 10 days.
Well, it's September 31st.
or you wanna make it,
Joe, I was thinking October, September 32nd
There you go. I'm for that.
at 11:09 PM.
wait a minute,
I can't do this. I'm not going to be here till 2 in the morning.
okay. so
Second
we'll
meeting in
do the
October.
restaurant.
How about
And I
Can we
have
do
open
October
space
October
is already on
29th? How
for
about
that
October
Okay.
29th?
So why don't we do,
Is that Halloween?
The ordinance on open space is
No,
on.
31st is.
okay, so the
October-
24th we
If
have
you
a
try to put
meeting.
it on, I'll put it on.
October 29th?
Nancy, you find a home for it, as long as you can advertise for it.
How about October 1st?
I'd say
I'll-
October
I'll
1st.
do the 24th.
October 1st.
No, we don't want it.
No, we don't
We
wanna,
don't-
we
we don't
don't
want-
wanna jam all of this.
Right, because there
we
are
don't want-
changes
yeah.
to it.
September 32nd.
October 1st, which is our off Monday. I am on vacation, but I probably will be back by that time.
I will likely not be
You
here.
won't be here? Okay. But I will be back.
Likely,
I'll make it in that time.
but not set in stone.
Okay. All right, so Nancy, why don't
So
we
we
do
defer.
that one? Do you want to do both of them that night, instead of making it part of our regular meeting?
That might be a
No,
good
we're
idea.
gonna-
We'll do the restaurant one in October 1st, okay. And we'll, yes, you're right, we'll probably be able to...
Day, Colton, for Canada.
And I'd like to give Counselor Hilton a chance to look at this and look at that process and make recommendations on
Yeah,
it.
she'll be home tomorrow too, so
So-
we'll get all this to her.
Will
All
she
right.
be speaking English?
Yes, so the first will be that
So
one,
the
okay?
first is going to be a special meeting
Yes, and we'll probably have some stuff we need to put on there anyway.
for this. So far, it's just this casino.
And if anything comes up, we'll just, so that, seeing I have this meeting too, if the other meeting looks too big, maybe I'll stick a couple of things on there. that
So
we're not-
I second John's motion
Okay,
for October 1st.
okay.
October the
It's
1st.
October 1st. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. Okay. Pecasset Cemetery Commission discussion and approval of amendments to the cemetery rules and regulations.
I'm sorry, John, I was supposed to request they move it forward.
Oh, why did you remind me?
I completely forgot.
Okay.
Wanted to be moved.
Well, Madam President, I'm John Christo, and this is another member of the commission, Bob Sodomo. We're revising this handbook for the Cemetery Commission. The one that we go by right now was approved by the council on 29 September 2009. So what we've done, around 2017, in July, the commission has approved some amendments, and I hope you guys have the papers there.
Yep.
And recently, we've approved some amendments regarding the grant for burial and so forth at one of our latest meetings. So what we're asking is approval of the council for these amendments that you see in front of you. Now, if you want to go
No,
line by line, we can, if you look at the red lines, it's probably easier to do.
well, we all got this and this
Solicitor
has looked this
and
over.
Nancy sat down with them at
Yeah.
a meeting and went over all of these. Well, actually,
Field questions?
Joan was our liaison way back, she started this. Joe was a council, he was a member of the commission, then he became our liaison. And we submitted these amendments to Nancy. Nancy did a good job, and Peter. Yeah, well, Peter was the one at the end for the acknowledgement, the last one on the rules and regs, purchasing acknowledgement, and that was addressed by Peter.
Does anyone have any questions? Why don't we do it that way?
Basically, what we did was, we removed, or would like to remove the word deed and make it a burial rights, because deed is a little tricky. When somebody says deed, they think they actually own the property, and what they're actually doing is buying the rights to be buried in that town-owned cemetery. That was the biggest thing, and then we also would like to put in another rule basically gives the commission the right to, trying to find it here, the right, if a person's buried in a wrong grave by accident, he gives us the right to transfer the burial rights from one plot to another plot.
We can leave it at that. We're going to leave it at that.
No, not the body.
As long as it meets the criteria that we set.
Yes.
And that's in Rule 12 of the Rules, Regulations, and Purchasing Acknowledgement page. And that particular document, which goes, we have 12, and then Peter's got the purchasing acknowledgement. And that particular document is signed by whoever's purchasing the grave. They keep a copy, and the town keeps a copy. So if they have any, during the course of their lifetime, if they do anything wrong, we can go back to them and say, hey, look, you've signed your name on this. So that's our legal document to say, hey, look, you've signed it, you've got to abide by the rules. And that's it.
I have a question, just for the attorney. Is it legal to change it, what they did?
Yeah, this is.
It's all good? Okay, good, then I'm
So
good.
if you're buying the plot ahead of time, you see the rules, you
Yeah.
sign it according to the rules, you buy it by what the rules are.
Cool.
Okay, I just have a question. Is there any type of transitional period, or, because right now, what people have in their hands is called a deed, and future sales will be called
Right to burial.
rights of burial, granting burial rights to the, so for those people who have deeds, should there be anything in here that says any current deed would be considered a grant of burial rights in the future?
I think, I think putting that language in could probably be good for clarification's sake. Any deed that's currently out there, it's still, you're not buying the land, you're buying the burial rights.
Correct.
And changing the language was for clarification, but I think adding that language would also clarify.
Well, I think you tried to do that when you have on number 12 of the rules, regulation, and purchasing agreement acknowledgement. You have in 12, from here on, known as burial rights. I think that's, you had an intention to do that, but I think it would be more crisp, more clear if you say, for any current or existing deeds will henceforth be called grant of burial rights.
That's a good point.
We'll just add that to
We could put that in, you could grant that with that sentence in conditionally, and we put that in.
Any other questions?
And if it could be added to 12, that would be good.
I've got a
Is that-
question. Who's going to do this?
Peter.
The lawyer. It's always the lawyer.
I'm going to do it.
Peter's gonna do it.
Peter going to do it, give it to Nancy, then Nancy will give it to me. Okay,
Okay.
fine.
Yeah, that's
And then the,
good question.
so, great job, guys, this is really good.
You guys were good.
On the lot purchase document, under, you hit all the deeds except for
Yeah.
town treasurer, affix seal to
Yeah,
deeds.
this picture,
and-
all of these will be.
It's throughout the handbook. And we're going to have to go throughout the handbook and look wherever it says, because I noticed reading parts that were not, I only gave you the pages that were going to be changed.
Okay.
But I did tell John that I'll work with him. We'll go through the handbook and align everything up a little better, make sure it's all the same fonts and stuff, and
Then I think
and
it's
change.
very important. Any reference or any person having a current deed are henceforth granted burial rights. So I think if you cover that in one place, then you can, over time, change the word deed to grant burial rights. And I have one last thing. On the transfer of burial rights, under the
What page?
10, you have where it says town clerk, and you have items 1, copies of transfer, certificate of transfer, 2, 3, there's like a extra line there, 3 completes A, so that just needs to be deleted, and the item 5 and 6 need to be renumbered to 4 and 5.
Right.
I'm gonna go, that's actually from the handbook page. I'm gonna fix it up.
But otherwise, great job. This will resolve a lot of, give a lot of clarity to the situation with deeds as really a grant of burial rights. But great job, guys.
Madam President,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the amendments to the cemetery handbook rules and regulations, including the amendments as brought to light by Counselor Shabbat.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Motion been made, second, all those in favor? Good job, guys.
Good job. By the way, if you want to get moved up, you just tell me, I'll
Well, he didn't tell me, he told Nancy. Sorry. Bid and request for proposals. There are none. Town administrator announcements.
Just a quick one, I don't know how else to do this. I'm passing around something that responds to what was in the minutes about the last meeting where Brett Pelletier made reference to a report that seemed to confirm that with respect to the Old Stone Bridge abutment project, the project was sort of on track in terms of cost, I think. Counselor, yeah, you had asked for that. So this is that particular report that confirms that we are at about what we were as of early August at about 80% of the funding and the cost.
Thank you. Town solicitor announcements?
You're going to do it 27.
Town clerk?
Just that the primary is going to be held on Wednesday. Districts 3306 and 3307 are combined in at the high school. The polls are open from 7 in the morning to 8 at night.
Every poll that's open is
6 and 7 are combined in at the high school.
right.
By the general election, we hope to get back to the Amical.
Okay.
Also, I just want to make a comment that the council did allow me to use $6,000 for a temporary clerk. I've now been informed that the Board of Canvass clerk cannot work on the election because she is a candidate. And so we are really going to be struggling in that office, which is why I wasn't in favor of a lot more meetings. However, I'm going to try to increase that temporary work because she's working out very well. I'm going to try to increase her hours a little bit. I'm going to have to pay her a little more. So if I extend over the 6,000 a little, I'll come back before the end of October if no one has objections. Thank you.
I skipped over town council announcements. Are there any town council announcements?
Just, if you would approve this, I would like to reach out to the Tiverton Prevention Coalition and invite them to provide us with an update. I want to reach out to Jenny McNamee and Rebecca Elwell. They did a great presentation to the school committee, and I'd like them to do the same for the town council.
Could you just get back to me to see what meeting they can make it, and we'll just
Yep.
put it or send a request to me?
Now that I know we don't have an October
Yeah, I know,
9th, so.
But there's an October
I'll-
1st.
But there is an October 1st, so I could
That's
always do
true.
it then.
What paying?
Okay. John?
Did you get everybody? Okay. All right, Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to go in a closed executive session, Town Administrator 4246 5A2, Collective Bargaining IAFF.
Second, yes.
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 And continuing in closed executive session, Solicitor 4246 5A2, potential litigation.
Second, yes.
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 And continuing in closed executive session, Town Solicitor 4246 5A2, litigation, Tiverton v. Lee Shore Realty et al., NC 2016-0462.
Second, yes.
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 And continuing in closed executive session, Solicitor 4246 5A2, litigation, AG versus Town of Tiverton, or Tiverton Town Council and Councilor LeBeau.
Second, yes.
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 We're now in executive session.